Welcome to Love and Lattes, the podcast designed for women who are ready to stop settling and start living a life full of authentic love, confidence, and real connection. I'm your host, Victoria, the self-love scientist, speaker, and coach, and I'm here to help you reclaim your power, deepen your relationships, and fall unapologetically in love with yourself. So grab your tea, your latte, or your favorite beverage, and let's get started.
Did you know you can heal your life by simply becoming aware? Aware. One word, many, many possibilities. And today I am joined by the amazing Maggie Boillot, who is a speaker, self-discovery mentor, and podcast host who helps women break free from toxic relationships, reclaim their confidence, and rewrite the stories. This is going to be an exciting episode, everybody. And welcome, Maggie.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I am honored to be on your show, and I'm so excited to just dive into the one simple word that can change your entire life.
I know, that's amazing. Just moments ago, we were like, what is this? Like, what is the magic word? And you said, well, actually, it's being aware. So, all right, for everyone listening and myself, Maggie, what does it mean to become aware? And how did this one word help you heal in your journey?
Yeah, so to become more aware is actually very simple. It is a superpower that everybody has, but through life experiences, we dim it down and we stop listening. And I believe the awareness comes from within. And it is your intuition. It is your inner voice. It is the person who you most oftentimes hear first, but then you dim down because you're like, well, wait a second. And so I think for me, the aware, you have to reconnect with yourself and understand through the experiences that you've led into your life, they have molded you and shaped you. But becoming aware of, is it really what you want, or is it really something that you don't want? Then you can have the willingness to change. And for me, it was becoming aware of that I was literally living in the shadows, and I was living a life that was so unfulfilling on one aspect, but so amazing and powerful on the other. But I had to realize, what did I need to shed to be able to reclaim my life? And it was literally everything.
That's very powerful. And I feel like that must have been really difficult to even have that realization of like, I've got this really great life, but I am so unfulfilled.
Yeah, for me it was so unfulfilling because of the person that I had chosen to be with.
Mhm.
But that person that I had chosen to be with actually had this key to me being super successful and in that light that I really liked to be in. So the confidence and the excitement was there through a fitness program and an element that actually had my identity tied to somebody else. That was the toxic relationship. That was the behaviors that I was allowing in my life that really, truly were keeping me unfulfilled, because in all reality, your whole life needs to be in alignment. Because if one side of the story feels like magic fairy tale land, but the other is so toxic, you're going to hit crossroads and you're going to hit bumps in the road that are actually the redirect that you have to become aware of.
I feel like I personally can fully relate to those crossroads. I think there had to have been at least two or three instances, but I really never listened till the final. Like it was the ultimate crossroad when like I was literally in my dream manifested home with the American lifestyle with the dogs and the husband and the job. And I was like, I am literally crumbling on the inside. I don't know how I'm going to move forward and how can I bring kids into this? And that was the crossroad moment of like, you need to get ready to let go of everything you thought you were supposed to be, like this lifestyle, because it's not who you are. And if you're going to thrive and create, a better environment and a romanticized lifestyle, you're gonna have to walk away. And I think that like same thing for you. Like that is a very difficult process and decision.
Yeah, and oftentimes those decisions are what actually changes your entire life. And it's not just from the inside, it's on the outside as well. And like you said, you have this whole persona or this person that everybody thinks is just like, why would you need to leave that? And a lot of times that's what I think a lot of people do is they suffer on the inside because deep down inside they know they're not aligned. They know they don't feel right. They know there's a disconnect. But like I mentioned in the very beginning, it's like we tune that out. And that's what I talk a lot about too is life is so complicated, but I like to make things not complicated. So I always reference like that AM radio station. If your frequency, your vibe, your feedback in your life is sounding like that static, unclear, like just noisy station, that's your time to tune in, become more aware, and shift the frequency because you are the person that has the control of that. And so if you don't believe that, then you're going to let other people and other circumstances in your life keep you in that stuck and unfulfilled state.
Ooh, I like that. Tuning into the AM frequency.
Yeah.
How often do you think we should do that? I feel like that's to even like for women to even think about, what do I want? Or am I happy? Like, when people ask you, like, how are you doing? And most of the time we're very like,
Okay.
great. But you can feel it in your throat. And it's like, am I though?
Yeah. We are so quick to just say, I'm fine, everything's okay. But that's just the way that we've been conditioned is to just keep going, just keep going. It reminds me of the Finding Nemo, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And I did that for a very long time. And I feel like that is part of the problem. And you asked a very specific question of how often should you tune in? And I believe that the way that I talk about awareness is that you can tune into being aware and more self-aware of what is happening in your life all the time because it's as simple as the word aware. I work through that as a framework. And for anybody, any situation, any experience in your life, you can think about, okay, do I need to tune in and become more aware? And then once you're becoming aware of it, we work through that little cycle. We can dive into that if you would like, but the tuning in is a daily and almost multiple times a day because once you become aware, you start to realize, like you said, like when I answer and I say I'm fine, but deep down inside I'm not, then you get to understand like where is that coming from and how can I change that? Because oftentimes we just stifle it down, and then that's when the redirects happen in more of a powerful way that we probably weren't asking for. But it's like if you're not going to listen, God, divine, universe, whatever you want to say is going to kind of knock you off your path and say, well, if you're not going to listen, I'm gonna throw you a little tweak here and see if you'll listen now. So that tuning in is really listening to that intuition and that inner guidance before it's too late.
And how do we know, for those listening, if we start to practice this, concept of checking in and wanting to become more aware, and we start hearing, or even like just going through the daily and suddenly like, you have an inner voice say like, oh, you should like, that's a great idea, or a thought comes up and we're excited, but then we're like, no, 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 not right now. How do we learn to trust that though? Because I feel like even when we do hear it or have that, like maybe it's a feeling in your body, and I feel like it can also be like alongside of wanting to like stay quiet or say the whole "I'm fine." How can we trust that? How do we know like what's the best way for us to kind of lean into that awareness and know that, it is going to be fine? Because like personally for me, it was that crossroads. I was like, I'm terrified, but I do like I at that moment after, this was not my first rodeo. It was like I could feel the hope and like the blissful brightness at the end of this dark tunnel. But that was my own experience. And I feel like for others, it may be different.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the other word that I always talk about with the framework, the willingness. I mean, we all know that deep down inside, if we hear the voice, we have to be willing to actually listen. And we're so quick to react, or we're so quick to like we just talked about, we're so quick to just say, oh, I'm fine, or I'm okay. Instead, it has to be the willingness to understand, is this really what I want to say, or is this really not what I want to say? And the willingness is actually then leads you to the next word, which is alignment. And it's like, is this keeping me stuck and unfulfilled? Or is this going to help me step into another version of myself? And so we can be aware of it, but if you're not willing to then change your thoughts, change your behaviors, or change your entire experience, you're never going to align. And then you're going to start questioning yourself. You're going to start not believing in yourself. You're going to not have self-worth and self-confidence, because we tend to then go, well, how come I feel this way? Because you're validating that it's okay to stay that way
Mm.
instead of changing it.
I know, right? We're choosing, I think it's very popular for people to choose comfort over change because it is that fear of the unknown. And it can be very scary, but at the same time, like, aren't you excited about it though? Like, think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really, I say this all the time, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. We choose the comfortable chaos and
Mm.
toxic because we're so afraid of the unfamiliar uncertainty. But what if we reframed it as this unfamiliar, uncertain part of our life could actually be the key to unlocking the happier, more fulfilling life? And that for me, and I think maybe for you, I won't speak for you, but for me, I had to trust the unknown. I had to trust the uncertainty. I had to take the leap of faith. And I didn't know whether I was going to fall flat on my face or I was going to hold the key that changed my entire life. But if you never try, you're going to stay in that familiar chaos. And that familiar chaos is most oftentimes very toxic. It's very controlling. It's very manipulative. And I'm not even just talking about like a physical partner relationship. I'm talking about just life in general, because you're in this chaotic state of mind and you're always looking for something else. You're always wanting to strive for better. You're looking. And so when you can actually say to yourself, I want to start over, I want to start a new path, and I'm willing to do so, you then get to build the trust and the courage and the strength along the way. Because most oftentimes we think, well, I have to have it all figured out. I need to know where those, everything's going to happen. But if you left your life up to curiosity and knowing you couldn't get it wrong, and it's just growth and opportunities, you would be able to understand that this is so uncertain, but it's actually where the magic happens.
We'll be back after a quick break.
I've been thinking a lot about patterns lately, especially the ones that show up in our relationships. For a long time, mine looked like overgiving, people pleasing, and convincing myself that if I shrink myself down just a little bit smaller, I would be enough. But knowing a pattern and actually breaking it are two very different things. And trying to untangle that alone can feel overwhelming. That's where therapy can help. Having outside support can help you recognize your patterns without judgment and make choices that actually support you. And that's why I'm grateful for today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp makes therapy more accessible by connecting you with a licensed therapist online so you can get the right support in a way that fits your life and your schedule. Love and Latte listeners can get 10% off their first month of therapy by going to betterhelp.com/love and lattes, or by clicking the link in today's episode description. Breaking cycles isn't about fixing yourself. It's about learning to love yourself differently.
It almost sounds like, it's like the whole through trial and error, really. That's where you can start building this trust with yourself, like
Yeah.
that bond, which I feel can also like boost your confidence and change the dynamic of your relationships.
Mhm.
Because you're, like you said, you I didn't have a strategic plan or like a multi-million dollar business right out the gate of being like, yeah, I'll be fine. I'm going to survive. I was like, oh no, I'm terrified, but I know I can do it. I'm going to do this because it's part of the alignment process.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the alignment, then we have to talk about like the rest of it too, is the releasing, because oftentimes we hold on to all the things that aren't in alignment. And we wonder why we wake up each day going, this is as good as it gets. This is how it is. And oh, this is just my life. This is what's going to happen. And I lived that BS mindset for so long that's what I like to bridge the gap between, is that mindset to then saying, like, if you release the crap you're holding on to that you think is just like this, your identity, or the things that have just been kind of molded and shaped by this experience, you're never going to change because you're not able to release it. And I'm working with somebody right now where I want her to understand she ain't going to move on from anything because she's so fixated on holding on to what is keeping her stuck and unfulfilled. So she's not going to release it. And then when you release things, you can actually then go into the E, which is experience life in a new light, in a new lens. You can see opportunities. You will have other experiences come into your world because you are not blindsided. You're not just living in this like chaotic world. Once you can release it and you can actually feel like you're in more of an alignment and you have the willingness, you will experience new things. And I always say that you never know what opportunity, what person, what experience is literally right in front of you, to the right or to the left of you, that could change your entire life. But most oftentimes we're so blinded that we don't even see those opportunities. We don't see the silver linings. We don't see the people that are literally standing there like, hey, I have a new life for you. And I have all the answers. And we turn our head and go, that's too easy. That's too good to be true. But yet, if we just allowed it and we said to ourselves, we can experience it, something new, it could be the change that you've always been grasping for.
That was amazing, Maggie. Thank you for sharing that. Like, you're 100% right. I think this idea of like, for all those of you who may not know, if you're listening, we have our hands around our eyes. It's like horse blinders.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the kind of reference I've used in my own personal practice. And it's like, you have to learn how to safely take off these horse blinders, which, like you said, is part of the releasing process. Letting go of these old narratives, behaviors, persons, identities that just aren't in alignment anymore. And I can definitely say, and you can definitely, chime in as well. But once you do peel those back and you start to move in alignment and you're building this confidence, you are going to experience the greatest things. Going through this divorce and created a huge like my health came back almost immediately. Like, as a woman, my cycle came in. It's a very important vital sign. And then business just blew up. And then I could jump into different manifestations that I had been wanting and dreaming back when I was stuck. But that was only because I was willing to let go of everything I thought I knew was for me. It was for some other version or some other person, but not who I am at my core. So I definitely believe that process of not walking so blindly, like with those horse blinders up, but learning to trust that if you just open them up a little bit more, you're going to experience something grand.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you said that, like, your cycle came back and you felt better and you felt different, for me, I even reference this because I think this is seriously how simple it is when you do choose yourself and you become aware and you have the willingness and you're ready to align with new things and you're releasing it all. My experience when I literally decided to walk out with a backpack and a dream on my heart to change my entire life. The moment I walked out, I live in the Rocky Mountains. I live in Colorado, and it was like, oh my gosh, the sky is blue and there's mountains I mean, it was literally like the entire world shifted by me choosing myself. And so when people think I can't choose myself, it's selfish. I can't do these things because of whatever it is, whatever narrative you have playing in your movie of your head, you're not going to experience something so magical as literally the sky looks blue. Your songs come on your radio and they're clear, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have this new vibe about me. And I can see the Rocky Mountains, even though I drove past them every day, morning, noon, and night. And so that's that thing about like when you choose you, the universe rewards you in such a unique way. People think, well, oh, so my life's just going to like switch? No, but you are taking the blinders off and you're able to see the new experiences, the new people, the new opportunities. But when you've got the blinders on, or sorry, if it's not blinders on, it's like literally a blindfold, you're never going to see the opportunities that are being presented to you. And like I've mentioned, that hold the key to changing your life. But I will say that it actually comes from within. We have the key. We just are blinded to the new opportunities.
Yeah. No, this is so exciting. I love this conversation. Now you mentioned something really good. Like, let's say we're starting to walk through this process. Like, yeah, I've got the horse blinders off. Life is great. My cycle is here. I noticed that, you're having this beautiful experience of your new reality. But I also feel that it can be easy to fall back into those blinders. I feel like they're still kind of there. Or, for instance, like if you're, coming out of a separation, you're like, okay, I got to build up this compassion for myself and self-love journeys and what have you. But then you're like ready to bring in someone, but then you're like, how do I make sure I don't end up in the same situation or the same toxic, or even like if it's not a relationship, it's a work, like situation. Anyway, what is the best way for us to make sure that those blinders don't come back on?
So when I was just listening to you, I was like shaking my head, and I'm just thinking, because a lot of times I think we truly have the new experiences and we're so quick to react and we're so quick to just pick the same experiences that we've already been in. And so because you're now more aware of it and because you have the willingness, you can align with the decisions. I hate labeling anything good, bad, right, or wrong, because it's just an experience and it's your feedback. And it's either your feedback sounds like the AM radio or it sounds like that high vibe FM radio that you're going to jive to and jam to. But that's the thing that we all need to understand is that once the blinders are off and you're able to choose differently for yourself, you will feel if this is in alignment or not. And that is when you do have to tune in and say to yourself, is this for the new version of me? Or is this the old limiting beliefs, the old thoughts, the old processes that are going to come back and haunt me because I haven't truly decided and I haven't really released the toxic behaviors, the toxic thoughts, the toxic patterns? Let me tell you, it is not just a code that we put in that automatically has you have that life all the time. And I actually say that I want to help you create a happier, more fulfilling life 90% of the time. And why do I say that? Because 10% of the time, you could still have the limiting beliefs, the sadness, the traumas, the things that come back. But because you are so aware and you're in your own alignment, you will feel like instantly, like you even talked about, like that little lump in our throat, or the feeling of like we clench the wheel, or somebody asks us, hey, do you want to do this? And you're instantly like, no. You haven't said it out loud, but then you're like, well, I probably should say no. Take a second to step back and say, is this in alignment with the new version of me? Or is this going to take me back with the blinders on where I have no control or I'm not in my power? And that's the one thing I like to talk about too, is when you are aware, you are more present, you are more alive, and you are in your power. And that's plain and simple.
That was amazing, Maggie. Oh my goodness. For everyone listening, I think Maggie has brought up something that I think we can easily do. As she said, it's something as simple as every day. but check in with your self radio. How does that sound? Are you getting those free, flirty, fun FM vibes? Or are we sounding a little AM staticky, stagnant? And either way, whichever this, like whatever sounds that you're experiencing, it's okay. It's all about, as Maggie and I have talked about, creating awareness. And the moment you create awareness, you're already initiating yourself into something brand new and very exciting. And I'm so glad that there are people like Maggie here to help you support, go a little bit deeper, and continue the journey. So, Maggie, thank you so much for coming on Love and Lattes today and just sharing your experiences and how this one word can literally change your life. Like, what? It's not by the books, guys. It's not eat this salad or drink the celery juice. It's becoming aware. And thank you again, Maggie, for being here today.
Yes, thank you so much. I love this conversation and I could talk about it till I'm blue in the face. Don't overcomplicate life. Just literally become aware and go after what lights you up.
Beautiful. And thank you everyone for listening to another episode of Love and Lattes, and we'll see you in the next episode.